many students already finished their client side, some students are still working on it. And today we're going to help you to review how to connect your client side to the server side and to the database. So you will don't have to go back to our previous video to looking for how did we do that. Right. So basically, it's going to be the same process we did before to create a server and create a database and link them together, right? And as well as a client side. Right, so here I opened the project that we created last week about msymbol to do, right? So in this project, as usual, we have our client side in the client folder, right? We have everything in the client folder, and outside of the client folder, that's just empty, right? It's empty outside of the client folder. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to initialize the server side structure, right? So we're going to do the npm init. Can initialize it. Right, so you can put the -y here, so it won't ask you so many questions. If you do not put the -y, it can ask you what is the project name and who is the author and any license. You just put -y, it's going to automatically enter those for you. Right, so it's gonna basically just gonna create the package JSON for you, right? So you can just take a look on that. So the name, which is I call it the msymbol to do, you may have a different name, have a version, have a main. For the main, we're gonna change that into server.js. Right, that's gonna be our entry point for a server. Right, instead of index.js, you can change that to server.js. Okay, and don't need to change any other things, right? So it's, they have the you can put your name here as author. It's not required. Just don't really do anything. Just put your name here for the author for copyright, I guess. Right, so that's it. So we'll create a package JSON, right? And next thing we're gonna create is the entry point we just mentioned, the server.js. So we're gonna create a new file. Server.js, right, which is going to be the main file running on the server side, which is like the app.js running on the client side, where everything meet together. Right, so you basically can copy everything you had in the webmaker from the server.js to server.js. Right, I'm just going to retype that things in, but you already have those things. And don't forget to import the libraries we need. So I'm going to do npm I express, right? And you can install multiple libraries, just separated by space. We also need to import install the config, right? Express config. Let's see what else. Mongoose. And if we want to encrypt the password, and make using the JSON Web Token, we need to also install those libraries. So I'm going to install the bcrypt.js and the JSON Web Token. I think that's pretty much it. Right. So Express, config, Mongoose, bcrypt.js, and the JSON Web Token. Right. Install them. Take a couple minutes, and meanwhile we can just go ahead and just write the code. All right, so it won't influence anything. So when it is installing, we can just go ahead to create our server.js file. So we're going to be constant express is equal to require express. Right. Again, you can just copy from the webmaker we did, or you can just copy the code we have in the assignment requirement before. Constant path is equal to require the path. Right, we need those libraries. And we'll say constant app is equal to an instance of the Express library. Right, so installation is also finished here. Right, egg. And then we also will need to connect it to the database. So let's say constant connect db is equal to require /config.db. We don't have that file yet. We're going to create that as the next step. And then we can connect to the database, which is going to be connect db, call this function we just imported. Right. Also, we need to do an app.use express.json
with what's inside there? I forgot. Let me just double check about it. So if I check any of my old projects like the WinMaker, it should have the code for that. So I check the server.js here. It is extended force. Right, so put it here. Extended force. And also we will need to define the routes. Right, so we're gonna have a routes like app.use. Well, I'm gonna leave this one for now. Just leave it empty for now. Right, we're gonna end that up afterwards, and say the same thing. We're gonna also comment out the database part. Right, so we're gonna ending that next. Just firstly to see if the server can be running or not, and we also need the static assets for the production mode. So you can also copy it from the WinMaker. So if we're on the production mode, if the process, the inf, the node inf equals to the production, right? That means we're on the production mode. Production, right? If that is true, we want to say app.use express.static client build, right? So this will our code will be located at when we are in the production mode, right? So app.get star request response, right? So whenever we receive a request, we are going to navigate them to the to our login the start page. So rest send file has the resolve, just something you will always put when you create application. Client folder and then the build folder. And look in the build folder, you're looking for the index.html. Right, so basically just saying the if there is a request coming up, right, no matter what the request is, if we cannot find it in the previous route, we're gonna navigate them just to the index.html. Okay, and the one last thing we'll do is just say app.listen. Right, listening on the port, and when that's listened, we just do a console.log server started on port. Right, port. And also the port we need to define constant port is equal to, if we are running on the server side, I mean, if I are running on the production mode, we're going to run it with in the port. That means there is a port, else just running on the 3100. Right, so if this is true, if there is a port existing, we're using the port. Otherwise, just put it 3100. Nice. Right, okay, we're going to try to run it. So which is going to be npm start. Right, so we're getting server started on port 3100. So everything is working. Right, let me stop it for now. And there are a few other things we need to add. We will add git ignore file. Right, so we can just basically just copy the ones it will have in the client folder, and paste the one outside. Right, we're gonna need the git ignore on the outside as well, so it won't push anything in the modules folder to the GitHub, right, which we don't want. And we also want to install. There are two more stuff we want to install. First one is NodeMan, right? So with the NodeMan, we can let the server restart by itself when necessary. And another one is concurrently, so we can run the client and server at the same time. So npm I NodeMan and concurrently. Did I misspell it? Concurrently, right? And I'm gonna put a -d here, because those are the. So we don't need these two packages when we're actually using the application. those packages are just for development. So the dash capital D here just means we only use this for development. They're gonna be considered as div dependencies, not the regular dependencies. Right? So you're gonna see the difference once we install that. Right, while it is installing, let's go ahead and connect it to a database as well. So what we do here is the same thing. We're going to create a folder called config. Right. So in the config folder, we're going to create a couple files. The first one is db.js, right, which is going to connect to the database, and another file, default.json, as well as production.json. Right, 3 files. And in the default JSON, we will have an object, right? So Mongo, and we're gonna connect it to the Mongo, which is MongoDB /6, actually forward slash localhost 27017, and just put the database name here. I'm gonna call it just to do. Right, you may have a different database name, and database name you like here, just put it here. Right, no space. Right, you can use dash, use underscore, but no space. And also later we will need the JWT secret to encrypt our password. So we're gonna put JWT secret. Get any secret here. I'm just gonna put M symbol here. Right, you can put anything. And you can put anything here. When in the production, it will have a have a same thing, but connect to different routes. So for the Mongo, right now I'm just gonna put I don't know, just leave it empty here. Right? It's supposed to be mlab in the hierarchy. We don't connect it to the hierarchy yet, so just leave it empty for now. And JWT secret. I can again put anything else, anything you want here. I'm just gonna put M symbol to do. Right, M symbol to do. Just some secret used to encrypt the password, encrypt the session. Right, and then we have a db.js here. So db.js, yeah, again you just copy from what we had before. It's going to be everything going to be exactly the same. So just copy everything. So constant mongoose equal to require mongoose library, and the config library. And constant db is equal to require config the get. We're trying to get the connecting the Mongo from the default JSON. Right, so get configure the get Mongo. Right, so getting that string we just created, and now we can run the function to build up the connection. So create a async function, connect db. Right, so if we are in the production mode, if process the inf, the node inf equals to production. Right, and we say the username is equal to the process the inf the mlab username. Right, that means we're using the mlab, and constant password is equal to process the inf the mlab password. And we can just establish the connection. So see, let connection equals to It's just using the backticks here. MongoDB / the username, column, password. Right? Did I do it correct? Let me see. Is this a correct query? Oh, I forgot to, yes, I forgot the DB. So there should be also the DB at the end, right? The Mongo connection string in the production JSON, right? That's the correct version. Yeah, I think I will miss something. Yeah, right. So then we say await, waiting for the mongoose.connect. Connect to the connection string we just created, and because there are going to be some warnings, don't forget to use in the use new URL parser, which is true to cancel the error. Use unified topology, which is true. Right, if you do not have this, everything is still working, but you're getting some warning there. I just want to use this to cancel the warnings. Use find and modify, which is false. That's the only thing we need. That is for the production mode, and we also have the, the develop mode, right? When we're testing stuff, so we're gonna connect to our own database. So we're gonna await mongoose the connect DB, and with the same tree here. Right. So if I just in develop mode, we just connect it to the DB from the default JSON, right? Connect to here. We don't need to provide any username and password, right? Because it's a test database. Right at the end, right, outside of other functions, don't forget to export it. Module that exports the connect DB. Right, so export the connected DB, and in the server.js, we can now connect into the database by commenting this to back. Right, so also the installation of the node.man and concurrently are finished. So if in the package.json, you can see the difference. So see, like the normal dependencies are in the category of the dependencies. Right, the concurrently and the node.man are in the div dependencies, because those two are only used when we develop stuff. It's not a requirement when the application is running, right? Just for us to develop the application. Right, so we can go ahead and create some scripts, right? Some scripts we can running for the application. So the test, we can just get rid of it. So we can have scripts. The first one we're going to have here is a start. Right, so which is going to be node server.js. Right, we have the, if we want to run the server with node.man, so we'll do npm run server. Right, so we'll do the node.man server.js. Right, if I want to run the client, npm run client, which is going to do a cd into the client and do the npm start. Right. If we want to build it, the build, it's just going to be cd into the client and do the npm run build. Sorry, should be cd into client, then do the npm install first and npm run build. Right, to install it first, then build it. Another way to write it is, instead of say cd client, you can also say npm I -- prefix client. Right? That means that's the same thing when you say cd client. That means doing the npm I inside client folder, and doing the npm run build in the client folder as well. Right, it's another way to write it, and it looks more professional. So I'm going to also change the same thing for the client. So I'm going to do the npm start in the client folder. Right, just instead of say cd, using prefix. Right, and we also need one more here to run the client and the server at the same time. Right. So we're going to call it the div. Right? So we're going to do npm run div as well to run the both client and the server side. So we're basically going to do concurrently backticks npm run server. Right, close it, and npm run client, close it. Right, so run client and server at the same time. Just give some scripts we can use in the terminal. All right, so the server and client, server and database are literally just can be used right now. So let's just run them. npm run div, run both of them. Right, so server is started, and it's also going to start the client side. So while it is starting, let's keep going on this one. So let's actually do something about the logging, right? Do something about logging. So in the server.js, we need to add in some routes, right? Adding some routes for the logging. Right? It's gonna be mostly the same code we used when we do the webmaker. So it's app.use, right? /API/user, and when we see that route, we're gonna require import the /routes folder /user folder. Right? We don't have that folder yet. We don't have that file yet. We're gonna go ahead and create that. But that is a route for all the user navigations. Let's go ahead, create the folder. Right now I'm getting error because we don't have anything about that folder. Create a routes folder, and in the routes folder we'll create user.js. Right, user.js is created, and let's import a lot of libraries. So we're going to import the Express. I'm just copy from webmaker, and import the router library from the Express. Import the JWT we will need. Import the config, the rs, and the bcrypt. We will need them one by one. Right, so let me just reorder them, makes more sense. Right, so those three are libraries, and yeah, this is also a library. Right. Install all libraries we need, and again, this will give us some errors because it's trying to import the rs from the middleware folder. We don't have that yet. Let's also create that. So folder middleware, right, middleware folder, and in the middleware folder we'll create us.js. Right, just the same thing we had in the webmaker. And this one we're just gonna copy what we have in the webmaker. Right, it's gonna be exactly the same thing. Right. So this one basically saying if the client provide a token, then we decrypt that token, checking what we decode that token, check what we have inside the token. Otherwise, just throw error to the client says either no token is provided or the token is wrong. I cannot understand it. Right, just use to decode the token. Right, see. All right. And what else? What other errors we have here? We need to export this file as well. So when you inside here, we're gonna say module the exports the router. Export it. Now it's happy. Server started. Right. So we're gonna end in our code here. And one last thing we're missing here, one last folder we're missing here is a models folder, which contains the schema of each file. So we're gonna create a last folder, which is models. And inside here, we're gonna create user capital U user.js. Right. So we're gonna say constant mongoose equal to require mongoose. Right, constant user schema equal to mongoose.schema. Right, I hope you still remember that. So we're gonna have each user going to have email type equal to a string. Right, and which is required. Is true, right? Which is required. And the password type is a string and required. Right, so it depends on you, like how many fields you need here. Well, in the to-do list application, I will need email, need passwords, and so what else I need? I may also want a display name, which is going to be type is just a string, right, which is not required. You can have it. If you don't, it's just going to put you as an anonymous user. Right. So for your application, you can think about what kind of fields you have. This is a schema for the user for each user. And more. Inside here, say I don't really have a username because this time I will try to log in with email instead of logging with password. Right. So basically your email is your username. Model.exports mongoose the model user and user schema. Right, export this model which is created lowercase s. Right, that's the last file we create. Right, so in the let's just close those things we opened. In the routes folder, right, the user file in the routes folder, we'd like to import the model we just created as well. So I'm just gonna put it right after the auth. Say the constant user is equal to require / models user. Right, so there is a lot of like setup, but most of them just going to be the same pattern. Right? If you just create one in any of your project, all the other project or other models will follow in the same pattern. Right, so that's all we need, and we can go ahead to create the login routes where we need. Right, login route. Yeah, so you will need a login, need a register, need a load user things, and again, you can copy from the waymaker you created. It's the same thing, exactly the same thing. So router.post /login. Right, when we receive a login, we want to do a async request. Request response. Right, run this function. Right, and you can do whatever you want in this function. Basically, it's going to do the same thing as we did in the waymaker. So firstly, we're getting a username and password. Well, this time we're getting an email. There's no username in my case. You can still use a username, or you can try this way, login with email. Right? A lot of like a website right now allows you to log in with your email. So I'm just going to use the email and the password from the request.body. Right, then we check if username is correct. So we do let user is equal to await user model the find one, looking for if we can find this user with the email equals to the email we give it. Right. So when the left side and right side are the same, you can even simplify that by just saying email. Because we're saying if a user email is even equal to the given email. So to simplify that, you can just say email here. Just make the code more readable, or just being lazy. You can see many people doing this way. Right? If we cannot find the user, if not user, right? Not user means when user equals to null or user equals to undefined. Right? They are all forcing values. Right? Forcing values. So they're all gonna give you the force, and the rest of JSON sending a null to the client. Right? Else, we're gonna check that the password matches what we have. So constant is match is equal to await bcrypt the compare the password and the password from the user the password. Right? If the password isn't a match, if this one is false, right? So the compare is a bcrypt function. It's gonna give either true or false. If that's give you a false, that means the password doesn't match. So we know you cannot log in. So rest.json send a null to the client. Not gonna give you the user information. You're not allowed to log in. Right? And else, we will allow you to log in. So we do. So what allows you to log in, and we're gonna provide you the user information and the user payload, which the JSON web token, right? The token and the user information. So constant payload. Payload is going what will be included in the token. Right? Token represents something. In this case, we're going to represent a user which has ID equals to user ID, and it's a token. Right? And then we need to sign this user in. So JWT library, right? JSON Web Token library, dot sign. Sign takes a payload, right? What will be signed in, and how do you want to encrypt it? We're going to using the config.get the JWT secret to encrypt the user, and also tell it when to expire. So expires in. I'm going to put a 1 day. Right, allows you to log in 1 day. All right, so that's a sign in. Once the user already signed in, we can run a function here. Right, it's a little bit long. Let me just close the left side. All right, the function gonna takes two things: the arrow, if there's any arrow, and the token itself. Right, arrow and the token itself. So if there is any arrow, then we throw the arrow. Right, and else we can just do a rest.json, sending an object of token. Right, token, which is going to be the token we have, and the user equal to the user we have. Again, for the shorter version, because the left side of the object of the key and the value are the same, looks like the same, so we can just say token and user. All right, just make it shorter. And that's it for the logging. If you compare this one to the ones we had before in the WebMaker, it looks almost the same. The only difference is we're using email instead of using username. Other part are exactly the same. So you can see, like, if you have a copy of the code in your GitHub, you can always looking for your old project to copy it to do any logging functions in your future project. Right. So we also will need the load user and the register. Before that, let me also go to the client to finish the client side of logging. Right, so if I check here, I do have a login page. Right, this is my login page, which is almost like empty. We need to add something here. So let's go to my login component. Right, I don't have any CSS yet, so this is why it looks not that pretty, but we just care about functionalities right now. Right, so I have a div in the login page, right? So I'm just gonna have a h2 says login, or I say sign in, right? So sign in, and then we have a form. You may have a totally different layout. Just give you an idea, like most of, no matter how your page looks like, you're definitely gonna have a form, gonna have input. So basically, you're gonna have the same thing. You may also have labels, right? It just doesn't really matter. Input type is text, right? Name is email. I don't have a username, so I'm gonna use an email here. You may have a username. You can still use a username. It's the same thing. Type here actually should be also be email. And placeholder, just enter your email here. Then input. This one is going to have password. Right. So type is equal to pass. I already have a type, so I have name equal to the password and the placeholder. Right, enter password here, right? And then we will also need a button, right, to click to login button. Right, so it just says sign in. All right, so the button will have type, which is just submit. Submit. Okay, so I check the application. This is how it looks like. Right, it's supposed to look better, but this is also works. So I shouldn't have anything. Just that's my Google saved password for that. But just how it's supposed to look like for yours. Right, you can click that, sign in. Right, right now it's not doesn't really do anything. All right, let me just erase that. Right, so again, we need to connecting this form to the backend, which is very easy, right? Very easy. So we need a couple things. First thing we need is the functions on submit and on change. Right. So we're gonna put a constant on change is equal to a function. And we also have a function on submit. Right, some you like in your doing your work, you won't exactly see the same name here for the function. The function name can be anything, right? People are gonna have different habits. Some people prefer to call it handle change and handle submit. Basically, you're gonna understand that they're basically just doing what it's the name refers to handle any submit or handle any changes, right? This time let's give it another name so you understand the name can be anything. Actually, I don't need the unchange here, just need the handle submit. Yeah, because we're gonna use in the use state for the email and the password. Right, so if you're checking the login we had in the webmaker, it's the same thing. We're going to firstly import the use state, right? Something we need. All right, and in the login here, we will create two states: constant username and set. No username, just email. Sorry, forgot it. Email, and misspell the const. Email and set email. They are from the use state, right? Which default value is empty. And same thing for the password. Use state. All right. And one last thing we need is import the use history. So we can use that to navigate to another page from the React router down. Right, then we just also import that. So constant history is equal to use history. Here we go. All right, that's all we need. All right, that's all we need. All right, so in the input here, we're gonna say onChange. When the value of the email change, we'll do a function, a call function. The function takes the event and set the email equals to the target the value. All right, same thing. Copy this one, put that in the password here. But this time we're not going to be set email, going to be set password equals to the current password that we're trying to enter here. All right, that's it. And for the whole form, we're going to say on submit. When the form is submit, we call the function handle submit. Right, handle submit right now is empty. We can add in some code like what we want it to do for us. We need to also have e as input, and we'll do e.prevent default. Otherwise, it's gonna keep refreshing. All right. So now, if you click on the button, there's nothing gonna happen. The page won't be reloading. We won't see a reloading icon there. Right. It just doesn't do anything because we have the prevent it from the default action. We'll have the full control of it right now. Right. So with a constant, we'll create a form data that has a email is equal to the given email, and the password equal to the given password. Again, the left side and right side is exactly the same, so we can just say email and the password to make it shorter. And now we can send the request to the server. Right, send the request to the server. Constant response is equal to, again, we need async here because I want to using await. Async, right, await. Axios. Where I also need to import the Axios library to the client. I don't think I have that library installed yet. So yeah, so before we use this, let's also install that. So let me open another terminal on the right. All right, so to install that, make sure you are in the client folder. We want to install that in the client folder. cd client npmi Axios. Right, just let it running. Just ignore that. It's gonna take some time. Right, so we can import Axios from Axios library. Right, so keep going. Await Axios the post. I remember on the server side, the login is a post. Right, so we need to the request when we send it. We need to send a post request. Right, so API here is supposed to be /API/user/login, and the data I want sending is this form data. Right, it's form data. Right, if there is the data, right, if there is a data coming back from the server, that means we found the user, right? If it's remember when we log in, if there's no any data, it's gonna respond as a null. Null is a false value. It's gonna give us false. Right. So if it's not null, and then we can just local storage the set item, on save the token into the local storage. Right, equal to rest the data the token. Right. Save the token. And once we save the token, we already have the user information. Rest the data the user, right? We also have the user information. So the server gonna provide us both token and the user data. We need the user ID here. Actually, we don't really need the user ID. Well, if you want to bring user to his profile, so you can do the history, the push, right? So it's gonna be /user or /profile. I'm not sure what route you have here. It's gonna be the same thing you leave here in your app.js. right? Mine is called dashboard, right? You may call it profile, you may call it user, right? In my case, it's going to be slash dashboard slash the user dot underscore ID. You may have a different profile path. Else, we'll just alert invalid credential. Right. One last step you cannot forget is in the client folder. Right. Remember in the client folder. Right. In the client folder, the package.json. Remember it's client side package.json, not server side. Right. So you're gonna add in a proxy, so it knows where to sending out the request. Right after this one, right after the second last curly brace, we're gonna add in a proxy, which is equal to HTTP column / localhost port 3100. Right, so it knows like the request should be sending to this place. Right, that's it. So now if you try to sign in, it's going to send a request to the server. Of course, the login will not work. It's always going to tell you to the invalid credential because we do not have any data in our database. Before we can log in, we need to make sure you can register, right? So you need to register some account before you can log in, right? But the login function is actually that's everything about login. And about sign up, you can also copy the code we had in the WeMaker to copy that in your register component, right? And create the routes for the register. Right now we have a login. We need to create the register. It's basically the same code as the one we had before, right? We can cover that tomorrow. Let me just finish it right now here. So today we reintroduce, review how did we create server, how did we create database, and connect it together with the client side. Right. So it is a lot of setup, but start from this point right now. Any functions we need, we can just add in them to the existing file we have right now. We don't have any other files about the user. Right. If you just need more for the other object, for example, you need one for your production, you need one for the website, you need one for the page, one for the widgets. You just go ahead and add more routes and more modules. Right. If I'm not sure if you should you end it or not, just let me know. I can come over to help you about those things. Right. And let me stop the terminal here and send this to the GitHub so you can have a reference. Okay, commit -m. This is m symbol. Let's say this is server and the database. Use this as a reference. Git push. And let me go ahead, send this, just upload the video to the YouTube.